So, climbing mountains, is it something that can be as addictive as anything else? Is it bug bites you paka unaanza kuwa mountaineer, chasing mountains all over the world?
I think there's a high you get when you summit.
So you're high and you get high.
For that mountain, I paid.
What was your career at that time that allows you so much time kufanya mountaineering?
When we got to 8,000, now we had to hurry up. Because you see, above 8,000, your body starts to shut down, your organs starts to die.
Is it?
So you can't spend a lot of time again at altitude. Now, I must say, a lot of deaths on these mountains happen when you're descending. A lot of people summit.
Yeah.
But they die going down.
Why so?
For two reasons. One is, so at some point I thought, now this is it. I can't find ropes. If I make a small mistake and I slide, I'm lost in this mountain. You're basically not found. Me climbing with bare hands on a madablam was a decision to survive. I decided I would rather lose my fingers but get down. Sometimes I joke with some friends, I've faced death and come out of it. So this is nothing. There is nothing that doesn't have an end. It doesn't matter how long the journey is, it will come to an end. So whatever difficult things you're going through, it will come to an end. The trick with climbing, if you want to climb higher and faster, you climb.
Human body is amazing how much it can take.
Yeah, so
the more you challenge it, the more it gives you.
Exactly.
We'll get started, man. Muhia.
All right.
Ukiwa Mang'u high school uko unapanda milima bana. The only milima uko unapanda ni Mary Hill, Mary Hill. Mimi sikuona ukipanda milima.
Well,
kutoka 2000 to your first climb. Hebu tupatie yako kajadi briefly.
I think I started climbing in 2017. So actually
not Mang'u mpaka 2017. How did you get there mpaka uanze ku climb?
Nilikuwa tunacheza hockey and I was generally active.
Ulikuwa msa hockey nakumbuka.
Alafu kampo nikaendelea kucheza hockey. I was among the few guys who used to run in campus like almost every day, like in the morning or evening. After campo, nothing much happened. I just was active generally.
Yeah.
But I really wasn't much into the outdoors. But then I got to, I think 2017, I got invited for a hike by a friend.
Yeah.
After I went for that hike, I think I loved the experience.
Then
tulienda some place in Ukambani, inaitwa Kimakiu, some place in Ukambani. I got challenged when I went for that hike because I thought I was very fit. But niliteseka hiyo hike. So I think that also challenged me to challenge my fitness because I thought I was fit. And then the guys were prepping for a Mount Kenya hike. So I wanted to join them. So, but before then, that they required someone to do a few other hikes. So after that, I just got a bit consistent in my hiking for the purpose of joining them to Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
But then I think when I joined them for Mount Kenya, a lot of people didn't get to the summit in that group. And for me, I think it was very easy for me to get to the summit. After that, when we were climbing Mount Kenya, there were stories of some guys who had done Rwenzori. So those stories were a bit interesting. I thought maybe I should also climb Rwenzori in Uganda.
Wait, so hapo sasa ushashika bag ya climb mountains already? Did you start thinking this is something that I think I love doing?
The stories of Rwenzori intrigued me, and I thought maybe I need to go and see Rwenzori. They were talking about that glacier walk. There's a glacier on Rwenzori. So there is about an hour's walk on the glacier. And
Yeah.
some people were saying they will never go back there. They almost died and everything.
So according to them, it's more challenging kushinda Mount Kenya to climb Rwenzori.
Actually, yes, it's actually more challenging to climb
Okay.
Rwenzori than Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
So I climbed Rwenzori the following year.
So wait, before you got there, uli gear up my equipment, nini ukabae.
No, yeah, what I did.
Is it costly? Is it an expensive thing to get to become a mountaineer?
Now, if you are doing normal hiking, it's not that expensive. Now, when you get to the level of 6,000 meters, 7,000, 8,000, it becomes very, very expensive. Very, extremely expensive. The equipment is expensive. The cost of accessing the mountains is expensive. But then for the normal hikes, it's not too expensive. My first gears, I got them in Gikomba. I bought them. I went and bought everything in Gikomba. I don't think I spent more than 10,000 for everything: boots, bags, jackets. But as I continued climbing, then I needed to get better gear, better equipment. As you go higher, the mountains become more challenging, and now your normal Gikomba gear cannot really handle the terrain or the cold.
Yeah.
So I've been accumulating climbing gear over time. It's very expensive if you are to do it at once, but I've been accumulating over time. And 3 years ago, at least I got sponsor for gear, Salomon, the French outdoor company. So at least now the burden for the gear, at least that was lifted for some time.
Yeah. So before you take us back to Rwenzori, normally before you go mountaineering, you have to get to a certain level of fitness. So were you just going from Mount Kenya to Rwenzori direct? Ama up between there was a lag where you had to get back to fitness again?
I think my preparation for Mount Kenya was good enough, such that after Rwenzori, I just continued with the hiking.
Yeah.
I continued with the normal running, like maybe 10K in the morning. So you keep the fitness.
Okay.
But then the trick with climbing, if you want to climb higher and faster, you climb more. So I went to, I think I've done all the trails there is in Aberdares. Everywhere there is a hike trail in this country, I think I've done.
Wow. Okay. How was Rwenzori? Iliku challenge? Hapo walipata paguzi?
I think Rwenzori was like the defining moment for me, because I really loved. We were only 4 guys climbing Rwenzori that time, or rather 4 clients with the guides.
Yeah.
And especially when now we go to the glacier, everybody was, we need to turn back. This is too dangerous.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I was enjoying the glacier walk. I was enjoying the snow. Yeah. We prevailed upon the other 3 with the guys. We get to the summit. We got to the summit, at least all of us.
Yeah.
And got back down safely. And immediately after Rwenzori, all I wanted was to climb a mountain that I had a glacier walk.
Yes.
So you even have to use those crampons, like the spikes beneath your feet.
Yes.
So that you don't slide.
Yeah.
So I climbed Rwenzori in June 2018.
Yeah.
I came back and went online. I was looking for a mountain that I could climb. And I saw this mountain in Kyrgyzstan.
Kamanga, the following definition of glacier hapo. Thank you, Kamanga. Carry on.
Yeah, thank you.
Watu wajue sawa.
So the following month, I found myself in Kyrgyzstan climbing a 7,000 meter peak called the Lenin Peak. It was the most, I just made the decision on the spot, like I will climb this mountain. I committed to climb, and the next thing I was looking for a Kyrgyzstan visa. So I climbed that mountain, and I realized, actually, at that point I didn't know, but after I climbed, I realized I was actually the first Kenyans to climb a 7,000 meter peak.
Wow.
So
Okay, mimi
it
nimezoea
became,
feet. Hiyo 7,000 meters sasa nitola kushinda Mount Kenya.
Mount Kenya is 5,199
Okay.
at Batian.
Kilimanjaro?
Kilimanjaro is 5,800. That one was 7,134.
So you've now moved to a bigger challenge than Mount Kenya and Rwenzori. How was it climbing that mountain? Ilikustretch? Hakuna mahali umestretch
Yeah.
kufa?
No, that one is the first time I experienced high altitude. The first time I slept at 6,000 meters, and that I couldn't sleep at 6,000 meters. I started nose bleeding at night because of pressure difference between the body and the atmospheric pressure.
Yeah.
So that time I really suffered. And you see, at that point, that is when I knew that you couldn't climb such a mountain in one go. Like, you can't come from base camp all the way to the summit.
Yes.
You have to acclimatize.
Okay.
So like on that mountain, we climbed to camp 1, slept there, camp 2, slept there, camp 3, slept there, then went back all the way back to base camp, rested for 2 days, and then now started again. And then now went all the way now to the summit.
Right. So that's why they do it in stages like that.
Yeah, there are some physiological changes that happens within your body.
Yeah.
First of all, your body produces more red blood cells. Your plasma reduces so that now you have more concentration of red blood cells.
Yes.
Your organs actually become bigger, so you are at risk of having pulmonary or cerebral edema. So you have to allow those effects to settle within your body before you can push.
Okay.
So that's why such mountains take even months, sometimes a month, 2 months. Like Everest takes almost 2 months.
All right.
Yeah. So you have to go up, down, up, down. You climb higher, you sleep low. So during the day, you can climb all the way to 6,000, but you go down to 4,000.
You have to come lower to sleep.
Yes, exactly. So after I climbed that mountain, so I started getting some encouragement from the Mountain Club of Kenya, from other guys. I decided to climb another mountain. Still, I went back to Kyrgyzstan and climbed another 7,000 meter peak. It's called Kantegri. It's one of the most technical 7,000 meter peaks. So by then I had started setting some goals in my mountaineering.
Yeah.
So I wanted to climb, I wanted to go to an 8,000 meter peak, basically.
So wait, now at this point, is mountaineering still a hobby ama imekuwa career sasa?
My mountaineering is a hobby. It has never been a career.
So what was your career at that time that allows you so much time kufanya mountaineering?
After Campo, we graduated in 2006. I worked for 2 years. I resigned in 2008, and I started my businesses.
Okay.
So I started a car hire that I closed. Then after kuhaso hapa na pale, I started selling spare parts. So I sold spare parts from importing from Dubai, selling here. And then in 2016, I also now opened a garage.
Yeah.
So those two businesses are the ones who've been supporting the climbing.
Oh, right. And the businesses have done well even through COVID. They've been there.
They've done well. Of course, during the COVID, both businesses dipped quite significantly.
Yeah.
But then after COVID, we picked where we left.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. So ukarudi hiyo country ni Kazakhstan ama nika?
Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah, ukarudi huko ukafanya climbing another ukajichallenge.
I climbed another 7,000.
Yeah.
Now that one that was a mountain that made me want to climb bigger mountains because it was very technical. I managed to climb through very harsh conditions on the mountain.
Wow.
Winds that were blowing like 60, 70 kilometers an hour. You had even to hunker down for the wind to pass. You know,
Yeah.
You couldn't walk in the wind. There was crazy snowfall. Like when you're walking and you know the whole of your feet, I mean your leg goes all the way down.
Oh my.
Tough conditions, but then we get back to base camp, and then you meet all these great climbers who've even done Everest, and now you become like a brotherhood.
Yeah.
So they are telling you about a story about a certain mountain, how he climbed a certain mountain and all. Those stories now fuel your interest for the next one.
So climbing mountains, is it something that can be as addictive as anything else? Is it an addiction? How can you describe it? What bug bites you paka unaanza kuwa mountaineer chasing mountains all over the world?
I think there's a high you get when you summit.
So you're high and you get high.
there's actually after the last incident of the mountain in 2021, I had said I'm not climbing any other mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Or rather I'm not going any higher. I'm not going back to the Himalayas. But when I came back, went to the hospital and I healed, I was back looking for the next mountain.
Wow.
So it's quite addictive, I'll be honest. And then you become, you know, when you're on the mountain, nothing else matters.
Wow.
Your house could be burning and you don't care. All that matters is that moment. So it also, I would say, it also gives you time to detach from everybody else. You don't have any network on the mountain. Even if you wanted to call someone or someone is trying to reach you, they can't. So for like a whole week, it's just you and the mountain and maybe a friend or two that you are together, but everything else really fades.
Hey, I'm sure some of us need that kind of detox, man, from internet and social media and everything. Cool. So from there, you've done your 2 peaks in Pakistan. Now you're going back to Kenya. So you're chasing bigger challenges.
So came back to Kenya.
Yeah.
After Kyrgyzstan, I climbed Kilimanjaro, and then now I think COVID came. The mountains were closed in quotes. We started with a group of some guys. We started doing ultra running and mountain running. We started with like 60 kilometers. There's a guy who was doing 47 ultras in 47 counties.
What?
Yeah, so I joined him to run these counties. Well, he finished. Mimi, I was supporting him for some counties. So we ran Kiambu, I think we ran 60 kilometers. We ran Nairobi, we ran Murang'a, Kirinyaga. Yeah, so and then we would do like 2 counties in one weekend.
Okay.
Like we did Kiambu on a Saturday and Nairobi. So one weekend you do like 120 kilometers.
What does that do to your body before you progress there? This amount of exhaustion and exerting yourself, what does it do to your body without recovering 2 days in a row? Tell us the experience.
I think when you're starting, it's tough, and the next morning you don't even want to do anything. But funny enough, when you get used to it, your body becomes even harder to shut down. Sometimes you find yourself even unable to sleep after such runs.
Okay.
Because the body is still active. Is not shutting down.
Wow. Human body is amazing how much it can take.
Yeah. So
the more you challenge it, the more it gives you.
Exactly. So we started combining ultra running and mountain running.
Yeah.
So you go to Mount Kenya several times, then it becomes, walking becomes a bit boring. So we started running and challenging ourselves. You see, you also look at the other communities, probably in France, in UK, that they do these ultra running things and mountain running.
Yeah.
So we thought, why can't we do it here? So that's how we came up, Mount Kenya, 3 peaks. 3 routes, three summits within 24 hours.
Yeah, kuna swali hapo Muhia, just interruption. And mtu anauliza, do you manage to do all this without taking any herbs? I don't know what herbs means there.
Actually, yes. I mean, the more sober you are, the better you are at doing these things. When I started, it was a struggle because I've been a poor eater for a very long time. But then you are spending so much calories in a day that with time you have to, take up, you have to love eating.
Because unatuambia tunakula kushinda sisi. How does it you don't
but you see,
look like you eat too much food, man. How is your feeling?
Let me tell you, one run to Mount Kenya, let's say from Old Moses to the summit and back, you easily burn 3,000 calories.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so you really have to.
But you eat all in one go and then go running, or you eat in bites?
No, in bits. It has to be staggered.
Yeah. Cool. So umefanya ultra running all during COVID, and then now you're back at mountaineering. When?
Now, so I went back to mountaineering in 2021. Now, when I went to Nepal to climb that mountain, Madablam.
Okay. Now Nepal, just see ukienda Nepal, si tutafikiri umeenda Everest all the time.
Now
these mountains also.
Now, actually, a lot of people tell me, congratulations for climbing Everest. No, I've never climbed Everest.
Okay.
Nepal.
But it's in your bucket list.
It's in the bucket list.
Awesome.
So the plan is for next year, unless something changes, there is that plan.
Okay.
So Nepal has the bulk of the Himalayas ranges.
Yeah.
So Himalayan ranges has a lot of peaks.
Okay.
And it has some of the highest peaks in the world.
Yes.
There are 14 peaks in the world that are above 8,000 meters. Everest is one of them.
Yeah.
And 7 of those peaks are in Nepal. So even the one that I climbed was 8,163 was in Nepal.
All right.
So, but the one that I went in 2021 was shorter. It was 6,800.
Yeah.
But it is the most difficult mountain to climb in the Himalayas because of the terrain. It's very technical.
Right. It's more difficult than even Everest.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of people who've done Everest cannot climb that mountain.
My goodness.
Because you see, there's a difference between walking on a mountain and now doing the technical climbs, using ropes, pulling yourself up with a Jumar, the ascender, and all that. And Amadablam is a mixture of ice, snow, and rock climbing. So for Amadablam, it was more technical, very, very technical. And probably that's why the incident happened and I got frostbite, but I was happy to survive that mountain.
Are you happy to talk about the incident just briefly?
Yeah, I mean, it's what happened is I summited.
Yeah.
That day, the weather was not very good. Only 2 of us summited that day, myself and another Italian guy.
Yeah.
So I summited, but my summit was a bit late. It was around 4 p.m. For such a mountain, that's a late summit.
Yeah. Already you worried.
Yeah, actually, when I arrived at the summit, I started, I was worried about now going back. Yeah. And then I was alone, completely alone.
Oh my. Yeah, I can remember the pictures you took from the top. Yeah. I remember the pictures on your socials. Yeah.
Then the challenge, I didn't know that when I was at the peak, below me on the route, an avalanche happened.
Oh my.
And swept a section of the ropes.
Oh.
So, you go down, you start going down, and then you finish one rope because those ropes are connected to each other. You finish one rope, there are anchors, you can secure yourself, and then you move on to the next rope.
Yeah.
Because now you are having these harness that you see, like the harness that the guys who clean windows on tall building use.
Yeah.
That's the ones we use.
Okay.
And then now you go to the next rope like that. Then you finish one rope, and then going to the next rope, you can't see the rope. So you have to dig around, looking for anchors, looking for ropes. So I didn't know it was an avalanche that had buried the ropes. So on some instances, I could even dig using my hands, just to, even up to a meter, just to get the ropes out. And
so
then
without the rope, you can't go down?
It's too dangerous. You fall, you get lost. It's too, it's too dangerous.
So the rope is the one that gives you the route where you need to go through.
Yeah, it gives you the route, but also it secures you.
Yes.
From falling.
Oh my.
A madablam is some sections are actually properly vertical climbs. You are climbing like a wall of ice. Yeah?
Oh no. Okay.
So what happened is I took a lot of time going down. Then that night it was extremely cold. It was minus 18 degrees. So by the time I got, there's now a point I got, the ropes have frozen. They are actually, some of them are frozen against rocks. So you even have to yank them off the rocks for you to be able to use them. And there's ice around the ropes. So there's a time, the belay device that we normally use, at some point, it fell and it got lost on the mountain.
What's that device you say?
It's we call it an ATC. It's a belay device that helps you.
Yeah.
It's a friction device that helps you descend on the rope.
Okay.
Safely, slowly.
Yes.
Without falling. Yeah.
Yes.
So it got lost because every time you have to remove it from your harness to put the next rope once you finish one rope. Yes. So I think in that transition, at some point, it fell and got lost.
Your time uko alone?
Niko peke yangu. Actually, at that point, the guys at the base camp, they thought I had been swept by the avalanche.
Oh no!
They were actually at that point.
This is a good time to ask you. Have you ever thought about this thing might maybe lead you into a dangerous situation where maybe you might in a bad place? Have you ever thought about? Is that something that is constantly on your mind when you're climbing, or you never think about it?
No. It's always on the mind. I know it's a possibility because it happens. I have seen it happen, so I know it's a possibility. And it has killed very able climbers. But you see, an avalanche is something that really when an avalanche happens, it happens.
Yeah.
You really can't prevent. It's a natural occurrence. So you can only probably be safer by either on these mountains. We normally most sections we climb at night when it's very cold.
Okay.
So that the ice is like solid. Wood.
Yeah.
The ice is solid enough, and even if there was fresh snow, it's cold enough to bond with the old snow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, during the day, there's highly likelihood of an avalanche, and most avalanches are also are triggered by movement also.
Okay.
Of people, yeah.
Just a small weight now. That's it.
Yeah, because you see, it's fresh snow falling on old snow.
Okay.
So you have to give it time to bond. Otherwise, it will come as a slab.
Oh, I see.
So you see now, it got to a point I got stuck on the rope because now I'm using another device that is not meant for icy ropes, but that's the only other device that I had.
Yeah.
So I got stuck, and then at some point, I just decided to climb down I would say kienyeji, like just grab the ropes and go down, because now I was freezing.
I see.
So I needed to get down. I needed to get down at least to a tent. Otherwise, I couldn't have survived that night on, on open mountain,
Yes.
on in the open.
Yeah.
Because at some point I thought of I thought of, we call it bivouacking, like just sheltering below a rock and sitting there until morning. But then it was too cold. Like I would feel the cold, right, penetrates the jacket.
Kuna kitu mimi usikianga ati when you're out up there when the oxygen is very thin and the ice is very cold. Kuna kitu nafanyikianga mountaineers where you become like a zombie. Unaanza kuota, you start seeing things. Has that ever happened? Have you ever been afraid of that? Has that ever happened to you or someone else you know?
Yeah, hallucinations.
Hallucinations.
They happen. There's a time we were doing runs on Mount Kenya.
Yeah.
The first time we tried the 3 routes back to back. So we've been on our feet for like 30 hours.
Yeah.
So we got to a point and I told guys, I think, I honestly, even up to now, I was convinced I was hearing music. There was a bash somewhere.
Yangoma.
I think. Yeah, I mean, there's another friend of mine who still Mount Kenya. We are walking and he tells me, stop, watch our mama wapite kwanza. Namuuliza wa mama gani? Atiwoni wa mama wako na vitenge wanapita. That guy was seeing ladies passing in front of him. It happens, actually. It really happens, yes.
Right.
I think even on this mountain,
yeah.
On this mountain, I had a small incident at Camp 4 when I was hyperventilating. Like, it was very cold, but to me, it was very hot. I actually started removing the jackets. And I rushed out of the tent. I removed my headgear, the jacket. Uh-huh. And then when I was hit by that cold wind, I think it's like a fog cleared. And then I started feeling cold again. Yeah. Because, the mind starts playing games with you. Yeah. The mind is also trying to protect your organs. Yes. So, like that time, and it's common on these high mountains, the brain is trying to trick you that it's not that cold.
Wow. Okay. So take us down that night when you had the incident, you can take us home now to your latest adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. So at that point now, I managed to get back to a camp 2, at around midnight. Yeah. But then when I arrived there, because the plan initially was to get to Camp 1. So my tent, everything, sleeping bag was at Camp 1. Okay. But then I couldn't get to Camp 1.
So I had to the basic utilities just to get you by.
Yeah, there were only 3 tents, and there was one that was not occupied. So I just got into the tent and slept there. I didn't have there was no tent. I mean, there was no sleeping bag. Oh no! So I just slept. I just slept on the floor and waited for the morning. Because I just wanted somewhere to shelter from the wind, because the wind was too cold. It was coming with a chill factor of, I don't know. It was dropping the temperature instantly. Oh no! So I just wanted somewhere to shelter from the wind. But by that time, I think the damage on the hands were already done. Yeah. Had already, because you see now you are grabbing frozen ropes already. Yeah. And I did that for like 3 hours. Ooh. So ni kama tu weke mkono kwa freezer for those 3 hours. So by the time I got there, largely my fingers were dark, because there's no oxygen that is getting to the tips of the fingers. Yeah.
Both hands?
Both hands.
Okay.
So the following morning, I couldn't, the hands were too painful even to grab a rope or something.
Oh no.
So we had to radio for a helicopter rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did come promptly?
No, it didn't come. It did come. Actually, it came, but the weather was too bad. You know, Camp 2 on Amadablam is at 6,100 meters.
Yeah.
And it's on a cliff. So even the heli couldn't land. So it came, it tried to locate the camp. It couldn't see because it was a whiteout.
Yeah.
So it tried twice, then they called off the rescue because it was too dangerous even for the helicopter. So I had to sleep again at that camp for that night. Yeah. And now wait for the following morning. Luckily, 5:30 the following morning, the clouds were clear and the heli came and picked me up.
Right.
And then we had to do a long line rescue. Because the heli couldn't land, so they had to drop a rope. I clip on my harness. Yeah. And then I went dangling below a helicopter for like 10 minutes before I was dropped at at the base camp. Yeah. Then they put me in the helicopter and went to the hospital.
So vile helicopter imekuja ni kama movie. Wanakuambia, we gonna throw your rope, mate. Grab it.
Yeah. No, you can't hear because of the helicopter.
Yeah.
Because of the blades and all and everything. So you are just communicating by signs, and also I have a radio. Yeah. And then there's a guy at the base camp who also I'm communicating with the guy at the base camp.
Okay.
So he tells me the heli can't land, so they will drop you a rope with a carabiner you can clip on your harness. Yeah. And then the heli will just lift off and take you to base camp. So you see now, when you go to the base camp, the heli has to drop you here and then it lands next to you.
All right.
Then you unclip.
Ukapelekwa OC?
Yeah. So nikapelekwa direct Kathmandu OC.
How long did it take before you had your fingers back again?
It took 2 surgeries and about 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how much damage you had incurred.
It was severe frostbite. It was actually I was amazed by the work the doctors did, because I was actually expecting all my fingers to go.
Oh my.
But in Kathmandu they injected me with blood thinners and a lot of liquids. Yeah. To try and stimulate blood to get to the tips. But then when I was in hospital, then there was this COVID outbreak in India, and then Nepal was closing their airspace. Mm-hmm. So I had to fly back. But luckily, I kept communication with the doctor in Nepal, guided me. I consulted so many doctors here in Dubai, then came for surgery here in some place in Harlingen.
Right. So you've done that. It took about almost a year to recover fully. All of 2021, 2022, you're recovering.
Yeah, but even when I was recovering, I was still running.
Okay.
In November that year, I went to South Africa to run 100 kilometers in the Table Mountains. Yeah. But that run was more of a therapy than anything else. Yeah. I needed something to get me out there and not to concentrate on my fingers.
Right. Okay. So fast forward, you've recovered. You're looking at the next challenge. Is that the latest you've done now?
Yeah, I recovered. Okay. In between, we did several challenges, local challenges. Yeah. Like running up Kilimanjaro.
Okay.
We did, five East African peaks in 7 days.
Wow.
So we climbed Rwenzori, Muhabura, Mount Kenya, Mount Meru, and Kilimanjaro in 7 days.
Wow.
And then ran the Kilimanjaro marathon. That I think that locally, that was the biggest challenge I've ever done.
Yeah, that sounds like something.
It's tiresome. It's tiresome, but it was a challenge that we were just joking with some two guys and decided why not try.
And you all made it safe.
Yeah, we all made it.
Cool. So I'm just want to look at this the scale of like when you went to the mountain you climbed, the one that had the incident. What is the package that takes you there in terms of your budget?
Well, for that mountain, I paid to the organizers. I paid $6,000.
Okay.
And then of course now those are the costs of flight, insurance,
insurance and all that. So like the chopper that came for you is because you had insurance. Or that's just a
for that one, I had insurance, but later insurance waliruka, but then I had an arrangement with the chopper company.
Yeah.
Because now when I was being rescued, the Italian is a rescue pilot in Italy. And they collaborate with the Nepalese for when the Himalayan season is on, they come to do rescue in the Himalayas.
Yes.
So at the time when we were doing the rescue, the Italian just gave me a number and told me if there's a problem with your insurance and they can't pay, because a lot of insurance companies, wanarukanga easy rescues, they have some conditions that are unable to be met. So some of them. So he just gave me a number.
Yes.
If you have a problem, call this number. He's the owner of the company that owns this helicopter.
Yeah.
So just tell him I gave you my number. Talk to him. If there's a problem, you call me. Basically, he helped me solve the helicopter issue with the owner.
Right. And the medical as well, your surgery in the hands and your fingers, was it all that?
No, that one was all from the pocket. That one was all from the pocket. But yeah.
Sure, it was a bit taxing. Okay.
That was a bit. I would say it was one of the most expensive climbs I've ever had. Not because of what I paid climbing, but after.
Yeah. The care after.
Yeah, but at least this time I got an American company that to do the insurance, to do everything. So but then you pay a lot in terms for the 30 days cover, because they cover you for only that climbing period. You pay like 100,000. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So you've done the five peaks in 7 days. You've come through at the top of your fitness. You're back again. You've recovered from your trauma of the incident. Now you're willing to take on your next challenge, which is this month. Last month, was it?
Last month.
Yeah.
So this climb up, I had planned it for like 3. What I wanted is to climb. Mount Kenya is Lenana is 4,900 meters. Batian is 5,100. So I wanted like to do 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 meters, and 8,000 meters.
Yeah.
So this now was the 8,000 meter. I've done now all those. So nilikuwa nimeachwa na hiyo moja 8,000. So I got a few people to get interested in 8,000 meters. We were a group of, initially we were like 6 people. We wanted to climb a mountain in Pakistan called Gashabram. It's 8,000, I think 8,000 and some meters.
Yeah.
But then as time went by, they dropped. So we were left with only two. We were less, me and another guy called Chariot, the guy we climbed with.
Yeah.
So because of the numbers, the Pakistani mountain became too expensive. So we had to look for an alternative.
Yeah.
So we chose this one, the one in Nepal.
Okay.
So and this one is a good mountain. It will challenge you.
Yeah.
Both But then we decided we are going to do it without using supplemental oxygen.
Yeah.
Now, most of these peaks beyond 8,000, a lot of people climb with supplemental oxygen.
Yeah.
So we decided to do it in two ways, without supplemental oxygen and without Sherpa support.
Wow.
So we were trying, for this particular one, it was more of a learning peak. So we didn't have pressure to summit. So we said, even if we don't summit, it's okay. But of course, you want to summit whatever mountain you are in. But we also wanted to do it without oxygen, because there's no African who has done an 8,000 meter peak without oxygen. So we wanted at least to be the first to get that milestone.
Yeah.
But then as we were climbing, we even realized the bigger challenge was climbing without Sherpas, because you are carrying your supplies up the mountain. Now,
so Sherpas for everyone else. Sherpas ni wale watu wa kubeba mizigo.
Sherpas ni porters, guides, audio. Sasa in Nepal they are called Sherpas. Hapa tunawaita porters na guides.
Okay, sawa.
So you see now, you are climbing with your food, with your tent, with your sleeping bag, with your everything.
So that's like 30 kg on your back?
So you are, on average, you are carrying 25 to 30 kgs. Now, 1 kilos on those mountain feels like 10 kilos. It's just crazy. So we realized, I think, we may have beaten more than we could chew. So that also changed our approach, how we summited the mountain. How we had planned to summit the mountain when we were here is not how we summited. We had a variation, because it became too heavy for us to carry the tents up to the last camp 4. Camp 4 is at 7,400 meters.
Wow.
So, and the terrain is, you are climbing those vertical ice walls. So at some point, it got too heavy and too tasking.
Yeah.
Then we decided we leave the tent at camp 2, and then we survive up there. We push and survive up. So we were pushing for the summit from camp 2.
Yeah.
That made us. I mean, we started climbing from camp 2 for the summit push at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
We arrived at camp 4 at around 7 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we decided we couldn't summit that day, because then that would mean we would have a late summit, an evening summit. Now, and that will increase the risk going down at night.
Yeah.
So we decided to stay at camp 4, and then at 11 p.m. we started now the summit push again. And then eventually we summited at around midday, around 12:30 p.m.
So 11 p.m. vile ni usiku. Are you guys mnaona vizuri ama mko na spotlights ama uko juu?
We have these head torches, like the ones that are used by miners.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we have.
All right. So how challenging was this one compared to Amadablam and the other peaks you've summited?
Okay, Amadablam was more challenging physically and more technically, because it's from camp 1 to the summit, it's rope work throughout.
Yeah.
But in terms of height, I didn't feel any altitude, anything to do with altitude at Amadablam. But in Manaslu, the altitude was proper. I felt the altitude effect.
Yeah.
We spent 14 hours from camp 4 to the summit. That's a distance of less than 4 kilometers with 700 meters elevation gain. But we spent we spent over 14 hours.
Whoa.
Yeah. Because you see, we didn't have oxygen.
Yes.
At that altitude, you move you try to move 5 steps at a go and it becomes a huge task. So we could probably take 2-3 steps and stop. 2-3 steps, stop, like that. But because we didn't have oxygen, we also knew that we can't rush. Because if you rush, then you are putting a lot of demand on your body.
Yeah.
And that and you see now the brain prioritizes blood to the vital organs.
Yes.
So we would have risked a lot of damage on our body.
Okay.
But you see now, when we got to 8,000, now we had to hurry up. Because you see, above 8,000, your body starts to shut down. Your organ starts to die.
Is it?
So you can't spend a lot of time again at altitude.
Ukipiga maselfie na kusema nimefika.
Unafika, you take 5 minutes max. Because you can't be too exposed, because now what happens is your organs have started shutting down.
Yeah.
There's no more acclimatization. Beyond 7,500 meters, you can't acclimatize beyond that.
It's hostile. It's
too hostile for the body.
Yes.
It's too cold. You are breathing the concentration, a third of the oxygen that you would normally breathe. So above that, now your body is simply struggling to survive. So you can't stay too far.
Wow. So mukasummit na mkarudi chini.
Tukasummit. Went back. We got back to Camp 4 at around 5 p.m. and then we continued going down. Because our tent was at Camp 2. We eventually reached at Camp 2 at around midnight.
Yeah.
But now there were some incidences in between. It was a crazy descent. Now I must say, a lot of deaths on these mountains happen when you're descending. A lot of people summit.
Yeah.
But they die going down.
Why so?
For 2 reasons. One is you are exhausted. You are exhausted and you make a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
You forget to clip on a safety rope.
Yeah.
You trip, fall, and you disappear on the mountain.
Ooh.
You make mistakes because you're exhausted.
Yeah.
But most importantly, most of those high altitude sickness symptoms start manifesting when you are going down.
Okay.
Because you've already been exposed to that high altitude with no oxygen.
Yeah.
So things like disorientation, things like, your brain swells in those altitudes. So you start, some of those symptoms start manifesting when you're going down.
Okay.
So if you're not careful then, and you don't catch them early enough, then some people have been known to just sit down forever. Wow. Just to rest. So you become you have to learn how your body reacts to altitude. And this is something you can only learn by doing.
Yeah.
So like, I know if I start getting some type of headache, there's a headache that I will not bother with.
Yeah.
There's a type of headache that I will get and I know there's something here.
Yeah.
So at that point, I either slow down or I turn back.
Okay.
Yeah.
That comes from experience.
Now that can only come from experience.
Wow. So you've summited without oxygen, and this is the one that put you in the Guinness Book of Records.
Yeah. Yes, we've become the first Africans to summit such a mountain without supplemental oxygen. So that is quite an achievement. But we wanted to do it for the African mountaineering. Africans have climbed these mountains. We have Kenyans who've climbed Everest.
Yeah.
But we wanted to do it I call it old school, like Kitambo, where you don't even have people supporting you, carrying your stuff. You're the one carrying your own stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have oxygen and all. But we had to start with it was a good climb.
Awesome, man. Congratulations. One more question for me before I open the floor for everyone to ask a question. Your family, how do they take this? Starting with your wife, your children, and then going to your parents.
I think it got to a point whereby they accepted. Initially, there was a lot of protests.
Yeah.
And especially after Madablam. But I think
ulikalishwa chini na familia.
Not really on this particular. Just before I went on for this mountain, we had sort of a family gathering and a meeting.
Yes.
Where now I had to, tell them exactly the nature of the climb.
Yes.
The risks, the inherent risks. But I think at this point they have accepted what I'm doing.
So, and they're supporting you, and
yeah, they are. One thing I can say, this mountaineering thing has helped me is being able to handle stress. Like there's nothing that is too big now for me. Like even if there's a bill that is not paid, it doesn't really bother me. I've been able to deal with stress differently. I don't let situations stress me.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I joke with some, some friends. I've faced death and come out of it. So this is nothing.
Yeah.
So, and also I've learned that there is nothing that doesn't have an end. Like everything will come to an end. So it doesn't matter how long the journey is, it will come to an end. So whatever difficult things you're going through, it will come. Because like taking 14 hours for less than 4 kilometers, you can see the summit, but you are not getting any closer, even after 3-4 hours, But as long as you keep that one foot going in front of the other,
yeah,
you might reach there in the evening, but you reach.
Wow, that right there is powerful.
Yeah, so sometimes even when you're hiking, and someone is complaining, I tell them, just don't sit down.
Yes.
Just it doesn't matter how slow you're going, but so long as you're making progress, that is progress. At the end of the day, you might reach back at the bus at 9 p.m. when someone reached at 6, but you've reached. But if you sat down, then you're not going anywhere.
So keep going, keep putting a foot in front of the other.
Yeah, just one foot in front of the other, however slow. So even when the business gets tough, I normally say, just show up. Just wake up, go to work.
Yes.
Something will come up.
Awesome.
Instead of staying in the house.
That's really, really powerful. Guys, it's time to unmute. Say something. Yeah, Moya has just said something powerful there. Even if things are not working fine, just wake up, dress up, and show up and keep going. That's all sometimes it takes for you to have a breakthrough.
Yeah.
Ben.
Muhia, niko na swali.
Eliza.
Are you sure you don't make money?
No, I actually spend a lot of money climbing mountains. I don't make money. I spend a lot of money.
Umefikiria about maybe setting up ya YouTube labda channel hivi so that you also make some money to assist you to do your climbing?
Yeah, but okay. This is probably a premature revelation, but for the last 4 years, there have been some documenting going on with a professional film crew. So hopefully in future, there will be a documentary.
Muhia, I was asking about Bisoke. Have you been to Bisoke? I think it's in almost at DRC.
Bisoke, no. In the
Virunga. Yes.
No, I've been
DRC, Rwanda.
No, I don't know how you call it, but I've been to Muhabura.
Muhabura, yes.
I've been to Muhabura. The next one is, there are 3 peaks there.
Yes, even Bisoke is among them. Anyway,
I've been
That's
to
good.
the three of them.
So I was wondering, for 3,000, I think they're around 3,000, 4,000 meters, right?
Yeah.
So how fast do you go there? We once went there and we took 6 hours and we almost dying a whole day.
For the three, we
Three-
did the three in one day.
Uh-huh.
So we climbed Muhabura,
Are you
came back
serious?
down, went back to the other one, climbed to the
Karisimbi.
top. Karisimbi,
Uh-huh.
yes. Those three. So we
So
did
are
the
you-
three in
In one day. So
Yeah.
you're calling me fat. Why are you calling me fat, man? Anyway, a good thing you're doing, inspirational. Yeah, so it's been, by the way, whatever you've talked about is very inspiring. And I think we have learned a lot personally on mountain climbing, glaciers, and all this. So keep it up. So what happened to your hands now again, since I see you've wrapped them?
Now on this one, there was no much issue, but because of the previous surgeries, then the fingers become more sensitive to cold. And then the skin is a bit sensitive, so there were a few bruises. So there are some wounds that need to heal on the fingers, just wounds, not frostbite. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
the small
glad
frost
that you're good.
that is there is not major. There's a bit of frost. I would call it frost nip. It's small, that it's not much. Within itaisha too.
Sawa. All the best and very encouraging. All right.
Asante sana.
Thanks.
Asante sana.
All right.
Hey, Muhia.
Yes.
Hi, Muhia. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, Wanderi.
Hi.
Hi.
For this very last climb, there's somewhere you mentioned that since you didn't have porters, you made a decision to reduce your weight by leaving the tent in the first camp or something. So what was the implication of that? What was the implication of that? Does it mean that when you went up, you didn't have a tent, or what was the implication of leaving some of the things behind?
Yeah, we didn't have a tent beyond Camp 2. So Camp 3 and Camp 4, we didn't have a tent. So we had a very long summit push. And also we had some incidences at Camp 4 where we had to borrow tents. But then the resources at Camp 4 were very limited. So we even had to use someone else's tent for just before they could come. They arrived and got us in their tent. We had to borrow, say, someone's tent without their permission for some time before they could use it. They came later at night, some Russian guys. But we had to it was a way we had to improvise, and by collaborating with other mountaineers and asking them if we could use their tent for even if it's 2-3 hours. But also that was a bit dangerous for us, because if we completely could not get a tent, we couldn't stay in the open in Camp 3 for long. It would have meant we go back down to Camp 2 and rest and plan for a summit push for probably 2 days later.
Wow. Okay, then maybe my last question. The climb down, is it a climb down or going down? I don't know what the term is.
It's descending, yeah.
Yeah, descending. I was just wondering what was going through your mind after you couldn't find the ropes and after the avalanche, that is. What was going through your mind? Worst case scenario?
At some point I thought, well, this is how I die. Like, I've always wondered how I will go. So at some point I thought, no, this is it. Because, at some point you are like, I can't find ropes. If I make a small mistake and I slide, I'm lost in this mountain. You're basically not found. So there's a time I just, took a bit of time to relax, to, put my thoughts together. and then I decided, no, I must get back home. So at that point, it was, I would say, a dark moment where you are like, well, this might be it.
How is your faith helped you through all this? Your faith in God?
I think I've probably been more in touch with my inner self, like knowing that honestly, I'm not afraid to die. I'm only concerned about my family, what would happen to them, to my kids, if I'm no longer there. So that's why I have to come back. But if a point comes that, and I see this is it, I don't think it will be that much of a deal. There's a point that in mountaineering, you see so much death on the mountain. Because on Cantegri, when I was climbing, a guy we were climbing with, after I came back to the base camp and he was left at camp 2, 2 guys, they didn't come back. An avalanche hit them when they were coming down. On Lenin Peak, a group of 5 guys died, on the route as we were climbing. So there's a time, when you're doing these high mountains, you read and see so much death. So, and you're not special. So you realize that this thing can hit you anytime. When we were climbing Manaslu, when we were going to the summit, there was a group coming down. Some American lady. At that time, I didn't have a flask. I didn't have hot water. I really needed hot water. So I asked if she has hot water. She gave me, and she continued going down. When she finished the mountain, she flew to China to climb another mountain. Last week, I read she died on that mountain. So you are like, today you're with someone, the next day he's gone. So it gets to a point whereby you are like, well, I am going to do whatever it takes to survive. But because me climbing with bare hands on a Madablam was a decision to survive. I decided I would rather lose my fingers but get down, because I knew that I will lose my fingers. By the time I removed my gloves and grabbed those ropes, I knew for a fact that I'll get frostbite. I may lose all my fingers, but that's a decision I made at that point to get down. So I didn't,
You're choosing life at that moment.
Yeah.
Wow. That's quite something.
So Davis was saying something.
Davis.
Oh, yeah. For me, I'm listening to Muhia and I'm thinking, sometimes we think we have issues or problems, like you're pushing a deal, it's not coming through, then you're like, man, what's happening? Muhia is fighting with a frozen rope somewhere 7,000 meters above whatever. Like that's 2,000 meters above our highest peak here. And here your problem is that this client is not picking your call. As in, are you seeing the challenges? Yeah, like what I'm liking about what I'm liking about what you do is that it can allow us to relook at things and see. First of all, you can push yourself. Yeah. When you do 20, you can actually do 30, 40. Like it doesn't stop. The only thing is keep pushing. Number 2, there's another thing you've said. Knowing at some point you have to know what's most important. And at some point you might make a decision to sacrifice something that is less important to grab what is most important.
Powerful.
And then eventually come back to your people, come back home, because those are the people who matter the most. But even as you're talking, when we just finished high school, me and a bunch of other young people, we climbed Mount Kenya.
Okay, not the mountain climbing, the one you're doing. The one tunapita tu hapo Shipton, tunafika Old Moses. Ile inakuanga pale ya mwisho inaitwa nini? Ile after Old Moses, then from I think Shipton.
Old Moses, you get to Shipton.
Ulipanda gari?
Shipton. Gari unaacha pale kwa gate ya Kenya Forest Service. Ama KWS. Then Shipton, we climbed. Now the actual climb, but just to Lenana, not to Peak Lenana, not to Point Lenana, not to
Batian.
Na tulipanda hapo na army people. And what Muhia is saying is very true. The mountain is not what you think it is. It's a different, and this is how many years back? That's 2001. And still that's a very vivid memory for me, what happened at 2 a.m. Climbing the ice up to that Point Lenana. So for me, it's just that Muhia, this is the most inspiring story I've heard from from a guy that I know.
Davis, wewe kurudi tena ku climb after that?
Si niko na memories hadi saizi. Hizo zinanitosha.
Memories ama nightmares?
Yeah, and I would say something else that because one of the challenges we have, or rather I have, is time.
Yeah.
Because you see now you're going out for for 2-3 weeks. You have a business to run, and but then what I've discovered is I've also learned how to concentrate on what is important at work and streamline operations. The unnecessary clutter, I just get it away to allow me time to do my mountaineering.
Yeah.
So it also helps with my time management. Like when I know I'm going for a mountain, even Kilimanjaro, you have to travel. Sometimes you are off network. You really have to manage your customers and all. So it has really helped me with, also time management and streamlining and knowing exactly what is important, even in life. I know I want to do this. So you find yourself focusing on what really you want.
And I think that's also a whole different inspiration you can do for people. Like, how can you do more with less? Like, how can you do a lot more at your work with just less time and less? So how do you plan? So Muhia, big up, man. I think this is good stuff.
All right, Paul. Santi.
Hey, hello, Muhia.
Hi.
I hope you can hear me. Your story is quite an experience and it's an encouraging walk.
Yes, Santi, Sam.
Yeah, actually, I was wondering, how do you manage your health? Like, do you use food supplements? How do you manage? Do you just eat the normal food? Where do you get all that energy?
No, I'm not on special diet, so I eat whatever everyone eats, but I have I just have calcium supplements for my knees.
Okay.
Because of pounding the knees for when you're going down those mountains. So I just take collagen supplements, but anything else is just normal food.
Because you get problems with our joints, our legs, and everything.
Yeah, but also they are also strengthened. I think Omariba is here. He can confirm. He's in that field.
Yeah, you're right, Moya.
They are also strengthened in the process, but now you have to supplement by taking more collagen and all, so that you replace the wear and tear.
But the less the weight, the better for anybody in terms of going down those hills, because you see the weight. I mean, we all remember the MG formula. So
Yeah.
the less the weight, the better for you.
Yeah, but I don't weigh much.
Yeah, some of us ni gunia za mahindi Moya. Mimi nikiteremka
Unaanguka.
less the weight, the better for a mountaineer, basically.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, congrats, man. You've done well you have been an encouragement to us.
Yeah, asante.
Mohi, I think your experiences are so unique. You should compile them and write a book. That's one way of putting yourself out there.
You raise a good point. I've a lot of people have been telling me to write a book, but I would say I really wanted to climb an 8,000 before I could write one.
Yes.
Now that that is done, probably it's time I start. There's a time I started writing a book, but then I couldn't see the end. So I said probably it's better first I climb an 8,000. I finished with that milestone, but probably it's time I pick that project again.